Thank you, everybody. This is gonna be a little bit interesting today. I am making some changes to kind of what we're doing. I have a deck that I'm going to be using, and we're going to bounce around like crazy. The reason for that is we had a great opportunity yesterday to sit and have some conversations with people around the room, right? My table was table 23, which, if you know the number 23, it was the GOAT. We had such a good time. You guys had an impact on me. You really did. In fact, actually, before we get started, I found out I was a little bit busy yesterday. Cameron, happy belated birthday, man. Yesterday was his birthday. And then before we get into it a little bit, I made a friend yesterday. I'm going to get a little teary. So I have a student. So as part of the student stuff that I do at Idaho State University, we do business pitches. We do them all the time. Our big business pitches are actually next week on Monday and Wednesday. And one of my students owns a clothing brand. And we had a conversation around our table yesterday about, some of the pitfalls that we have individually and things that we need to work on. And it just so happens that Melanie made an impression on me. And I bought this from my student. And I think this saying would fit you perfectly. So, sorry, I'll try to get a different size. It's the only one. It's literally the only one he had in that. So what my goal is today is to have a little bit of a conversation, and I'm going to give you a quote, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me. So to quote the greatest cinematic orator in history, in my opinion, would be Ted Lasso. And his statement, be curious, be curious, not judgmental. Don't be a goldfish right now because you're going to forget what I'm saying, actually. It's the exact opposite of what we're going for, John. Yes, but be curious, not judgmental. And the reason is typically when you have people come up and speak, the sayings I and me are bad. We don't want to talk about ourselves. Well, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to tell you my story. Not the full origin, but I'm going to tell you the purpose and the reason why we're going to have this. So this entire thing, if you want the deck, it's built from an educational standpoint, so there's tips and tricks and things in here that you can use. My contact information is at the end. I'll be happy to send it to you. But raise your hand, the imposter syndrome, all the fun stuff that Troy talked about yesterday. I'm trying to expand on that a little bit. So to get started, I'm going to talk about this. I want it to be known that this is not bragging, and again, I apologize. One of the things that we were able to do in our background, so let me take a step back. So I graduated from Idaho State University. I came here, played ball, got hurt, did a bunch of stuff. I was the first employee at Hoku, if any of you guys still remember Hoku, the 4-letter word. I had the opportunity to do that. I decided that I didn't want my name attached to it when we stopped paying people. And so I literally walked away from 642,000 shares. If anybody remembers what Hoku was, when I started there, we were $3.68 a share, and I took them up to $14.95 a share. I was paid more in options. And I walked away from that to go be an intern in a nursing home to get my administrator's license. Because I went to school to specifically go into long-term care. Did that for a little while. Anyway, came back, had some opportunities, got some ownership of some clinics. We built them up, sold them. And with that money, I was able to do this. And I invested in a trailer park. There's a trailer park here in Pocatello. It's right behind Cole Chevrolet. It's 7.78 acres. It was 60 lots. But at the time, it didn't look like this. At the time when we purchased it, it had 16 homes in it. 8 of them were livable. The other 8, not so much. We're talking holes in the middle of the floor where trees were growing up in the middle of the homes. Okay, it was awesome. And so what I did over a 3-year period is we built this up. And then as this was in 2017, we purchased it in April of 2017, and we sold it in February of 2022. And that was the exit that we did at $3.45 million. The lesson I want you to learn today is about the importance of knowing your limitations and what you don't see, your blind spots. The importance of having a mentor. Having people you trust and being able to ask them questions. Kind of the stuff that we did yesterday around the table, right? That's why this all changed. So the reason why I changed the entire dynamic of this is when we got done with the table yesterday, I had a big impression upon me. And so I sent some emails to a couple of former students of mine who are out there in the world working. And I asked them, because we still talk, and I asked them why they still talk to me, why they liked me, why they liked class. And the words I got were real, honest, and unfiltered. And if you've ever heard me speak in class, I do make mistakes in some language every once in a while, and so the unfiltered piece fit pretty well. Look, colorful metaphors would probably be a better way to put that. Yeah, I appreciate that. So this is a story that I tell my students all the time, but they don't get the whole thing. And so here's the whole story. So if I purchase something for $880,000 and I exit at a $3.45 million valuation, or sell it for that in a 2-year period or a 5-year period total, that's a pretty good return. I had built this up from the ground up, right? 8 homes up to 57. There's whole things for it. It started off generating about $6,000 a month, all the way up to about $37,000 a month. It did really well. And you would think, hey, that's killer. You just made 10 years worth of profits in a day. I was arrogant, I was cocky, and I thought, nobody can do this like me. Sean knows I'm not like that ever, right? And so I took the deal. But then a couple weeks later, the property manager of this park is actually my best friend, and he tells me, hey, they're raising the rents. So when COVID occurred, my lot rents were $374 a month, but when COVID happened, I actually was the only person in town that lowered rents. I wanted to take care of my people, and I lowered it from $374 to $350. So you know at some point they're going to raise them, right? That's what they got to do. They're paying a premium for the property. They got to make their money back. They raised them to $425. And nobody moved out. And I didn't think that was possible. I thought I was getting everything I could out of it. Well, I don't know if you guys know much about capitalization rates and the way that real estate works, especially in commercial real estate, but when you increase your rents and you increase your annual NOI, that value goes up, doesn't it, my commercial banker? And it goes up significantly. Well, in 2022, cap rates for this were going for, I negotiated a 3 cap, which is unheard of because today you're at a 7. FYI, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, the lower the cap, the more the seller makes, and it's significant. So when you raise that number that much, I sold at 3.45, and in 90 days, they took the value of that and put it up to a little over $5 million. The lot rent in that place, as of today, is $480 a month. I was taking home $13,000 a month, mailbox money, because I had a property manager. Kind of. Had a property manager, did everything he was supposed to do. The problem that I had was that I couldn't let the control go. I didn't have somebody to help me move me out of the way. I didn't have a team. I just did everything individually. So this is the problem that occurred. And what happened was after I found this out and I started to do the math, I got a little bummed. I got a little upset with myself. And I go and I get to speak in real estate investment groups and talk about stuff and how to do real estate. We own a number of commercial properties, rental properties, and short-term rental in Bear Lake. We own a number of properties, and so I get to have these conversations. Well, one of these conversations got done, and a gentleman that I'd known for a really long time made a comment to me that hurt a lot, and it really hammered home this mistake. He said this to me: "You're a one-hit wonder." This is somebody that I've known for 10 years at this point. And he called me a one-hit wonder because I had done that, because I just got lucky. And it really hurt. And so it took some time, it took some internal thoughts, and I started to reach out and talk to people. Luckily, at this same time, at Idaho State University, in the College of Business, we bring in people to come and speak. We bring previous graduates in. So the person that we brought in at this point, his name is Roger Akers. Roger Akers, we brought him in as an executive in residence. And I was not the nicest, happiest guy when he came in. I was pretty upset. And he goes down, he's having a meeting with all the faculty ahead of time and talking. And all these faculty start texting me, "You need to get down here because this guy's talking about all the stuff that you know." And I came down and we got to talking. We started to communicate a little bit. And this is a gentleman who, if you don't know Roger, was the owner of Akers Financial, very, very prominent individual in the financial world and a really smart guy. And we just talked and just started talking. And I started asking questions. And he was somebody who you would be afraid that you couldn't ask those questions to. He was open and he was kind. And he acted like a mentor without ever asking to be a mentor. And within 2 hours, he offered me to invest in one of his tech companies and we bought 1% of the company. When I say we, by the way, my wife is here. She's in the front row. And so we did that, and that built a relationship. And I started to see the importance of mentoring, and that I don't know things. I'm not that smart. That we need to look for and find people who will be our mentors. And so when we talk about mentors and trying to find mentors, the biggest things that I would tell you to do is find somebody that you want to be like. Find somebody that you believe in their character and their integrity. That they're not going to steal your ideas, but they're going to promote you. They're going to be your cheerleader. And that have done it. Maybe they failed as well, but they can then teach you from the failures. That's a pretty big failure. I mean, it's a nice net to fall into, but at the end of the day, you're talking the equivalent in today's dollars of $10,000 a month in mailbox money. So we go a little bit after the sale, we get the 1%, I start talking to Roger. The comment of me being a one-hit wonder has happened, and I'm bummed and I'm depressed, and we'll talk about the depression piece in a little bit. And I thought, well, you can just take your, bless you by the way, you can take your gold bag and you can just kind of do your own thing, or you can try to prove everybody wrong. And for those that were at my table yesterday, they kind of found that out a little bit. And so what I did is I did the math, and I found out what is the value of that property and what would my net worth be today after that mistake with what they did to it. So now I've got a goal. I've got a financial number that you're not going to move. It's something that's static. How am I going to get there? But now I had a different opinion. I had a different idea. And that idea was, how am I going to get here? But who's going to teach me and help me to get there? And I started building that mentor group. I don't have one mentor. Yesterday I got asked, who are my mentors? And it was really funny. Who's your mentor? Who'd you talk to? And I sat there confused by the question because I don't have one. I talk to a lot of people about a lot of different things. And I just ask questions. Here's a great example of something that doesn't seem that big. So my CV, my resume, is a little bit expanded. Because we do so much in real estate, one year we paid over $300,000 in commissions. I decided to get my real estate license just because I didn't want to pay those commissions to somebody else. In the market today in Pocatello, it's a little slow, right? We've got, high rates. There's quite a bit going on. I had the opportunity to list a $1.1 million property home. It got under contract within 27 days and everything else. And this is literally this last week. And that's kind of unheard of in town right now. And the reason was, I actually reached out to my mentors, or the people who could afford that house, who don't live in Pocatello, and said, how would you market this? Here's the pictures. Here's my write-up. What would you do? The CEO of Keystone National, the private credit firm in Salt Lake, $2.5 billion, John Earl, good dude, awesome guy, super friendly. I asked him. He's like, nobody's ever asked me this. Why are you asking? Because you're somebody who could afford it. What would make you buy this? Showed him the pictures, and he's like, this is kind of cool. Told me, I literally rewrote the marketing. First person that came in, bought it. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I just asked for help. We need to remember that we don't know everything. We need to ask for help. So the first business I ever started was called Shows Theater Design. I designed home theaters. Came to ISU, got hurt, dropped out. Pardon me. Didn't know what to do with my life, decided to do this. This was something I was good at. Anyway, I built it up a little bit, and I got to sell it to a guy in Idaho Falls. And I worked for him. Part of the sale is I had to work for him. And we kind of got into an argument. If you've ever worked with me, you know that I like to debate a lot. And we got into an argument. And he got up in front of me, and he poked me in the chest. And he said, pride is going to be your downfall. And that has stuck with me forever. Well, that was pride. That was looking at it saying, I've made it. When in reality, if I'd have sat back and literally done nothing, it would have been significantly smarter. But I needed the notoriety, needed that personal gratification, as opposed to somebody saying, dude, look at what you're doing. Congratulations. Like, I never looked for that. So when we talk about mentorship, we talk about these things. These are some of the pieces that I want you to take a look at. When you guys are leading, are you leading by reaction? Are you constantly in a firefighting mode? When you're leading, when you're running your businesses, okay, are you actually being a leader, or are you just putting out fires all the time? If that's all that you're doing, then you don't have, just exactly like we just heard, you don't have processes. You don't have planning in place. You need to take a look at what you're doing, how you're doing it, and find ways to trust people. Your employees are your mentors as well. You need to let everybody have a voice. Okay, there's, like when I said there's tons of stuff in here, there's tons. So I originally, because I'm an academic in some circles, right, and some of the stuff I do, I wrote a lot of this from an academic standpoint specific to Hamel. I don't want to get into it and bore you all to utter death, but this is stuff that I would look at. Again, if you guys want this, you guys can have it. One of the things you need to do is you need to remove that personal control. The control issue that I had with the park was it was mine. I had a property manager, my best friend. I trust him to the end of the world. Here's what's funny. I was paying him 6% to go and do all the work that I was supposed to be doing. Every day I still drove through the park. Every day I still stopped at the mailbox to get the money. And then I actually made more work on myself because he was doing the books. So I'd have to take pictures of every check and send it to him so that he could actually account for it in the books. I was not giving up. I had too much. I was just constantly in control. So you need to start trusting everybody. One of the biggest things about efficiency and being effective, sometimes being efficient isn't effective. Make sure that the plans that you put into place are effective. And then lastly, managing to unleashing. Are you such a control freak? I don't know about all of you, but when it comes to small businesses, we all have a little bit of a control issue. Are you such a control freak that you do not allow your employees to do their own thing? Do you not trust them? Steve Jobs, great quote. Hire the best people, get out of their way. Because let's face it, you were a jerk, right? He was an absolute jerk. But the people that he trusted, Jony Ives, ran. And he didn't get in their way. So we want to put this stuff into action. Is there somebody on your team that you can actually use, that you can do, that you would trust to be able to do some of these things? We're going to talk about some opportunities here in a little bit to do that. One of the things that you need to do is you need to remember that your businesses operate, but they're limited in the operation and they're limited in the scope by you. Your scope is limited because you are not taking the time to strategize, to think, how am I going to grow? How am I going to build? What am I going to do? Because you're too worried about all the fire drills that you're dealing with. So take time every week to figure out what you can do. If there's nothing else out of this, that's the piece I want you to think of. Because if all I would have done is that, I would have saw the math, because the one thing that I'm pretty good at from a financial aspect is math. I would have noticed that it was the dumbest mistake I would have done by selling that. I didn't understand. I don't like leverage. We don't have debt. I didn't understand the ability to do leveraging with a bank. I didn't go to a commercial banker. And I know multiple. I didn't know you at the time, but I did know Cam. I didn't go to anybody and ask, what would you do? Thank you. So we've got 5 minutes. We're going to skip through all of this, like I told you guys. So this is one thing that I would like you guys to do. If there's something that you have the time, if there's somebody that you can talk to that will hold you accountable, do this. What I do from an accountability standpoint, because as a small business owner, we don't have very many employees. My accountability partner is my wife. We talk about the business stuff that we do all the time. I know that anything I say, she's going to have my back. But I also know that she's going to ask a question. And that question is important to me. It validates that I'm being heard, and she's pretty stinking smart. It makes me think. Okay? So is there somebody that you can do there? We're just going to leave this up here. We've only got a couple of minutes left is what they just told me. So what I would rather do is I am much better in a question and answer session. Yesterday, we did so much fun that we didn't want to leave our group. Can I answer any questions for any of you about Idaho State, about what we do, about entrepreneurship, about pitches, about real estate, or about AI? So what's really funny, that talk that we just had was pretty amazing. I disagreed with one part of it because I use Claude Code. So I know this problem I just told you about. You know, one of the best things that I've built in Claude Code. So my Claude Code, they all have names. They're all named. They name themselves. We come together, we work together, and they find a name. So my Claude Code named Vega, his entire job is to actually argue with me on my investments. He picks at everything I do from an investment standpoint because I also am a certified agent. I got lots of licenses. And so he picks apart my portfolio. And I get an email from him every morning at 6:30 about what the market did, where it's going, what's happening. Every day. If you want to see it, I'd be happy to show it with you. He does that. I have another one. I have another agent. His name is, so that one's name is Atlas. Atlas is my navigator. He named himself because I needed somebody to navigate me. And Atlas's entire job is to pick apart what I write and what I ask. I have a mentor, and his entire job knows me and knows everything we have. He knows every dollar in my bank account. He knows all the properties that we have and all the strategies that I'm working on. I say, hey, I'm looking at doing this. What are the pitfalls that will come? And because we've worked together and I've built it so that agent only functions that way, that is his prompt. Now, mind you, these prompts are pages long. He responds to me and we talk and we go back and forth. And he asks questions, and he just it's annoying how many questions this thing asks me. Because then I have to answer them, and I have to justify my answer with myself. I get in loops. I was doing this, my wife came up to my office, and I was there for 6 hours. I didn't even know 6 hours had gone by. It's amazing. If you don't know that, if you have questions about that, happy to answer those. Sorry, we don't have any time. What questions do you have? Nobody? Going once? Going twice? Go for it, sir.
With your AI and real estate, have you found that it's very accurate, or you have to really look into it? Because I've done some chat with real estate, and it's semi-accurate.
Okay, so a couple things. So ChatGPT sucks. Sorry. It's terrible. I can't stand it. I've broken it so many times. And when they keep doing their updates, everything that you write in your code in your GPT does change. It does. So anything financially, I will either use Grok or Claude. I specifically now use Claude Code, and here's why. This is the back end you got to. We talked yesterday, by the way, right? Yeah. So this is what I do is I actually upload all of my stuff. Now, I am a huge spreadsheet guy. And so I upload all of my stuff, all of my data, how I'm figuring out my cap rates, all of my formulas in there. So that is my information, and it's working off of that. I will ask it specifically to look if there's anything in my formulas that I'm missing, but it gets the context of what it is. Now it knows. You've given it the parameters. If it's simple ChatGPT stuff, the hallucinations that thing does are insane. But from a financial standpoint, it does really, really well. So here's one thing that I did. I'll get you one sec. So here's one thing that we did. So I am not a debt guy. So we have, this is not bragging, I apologize. So we own, our house is $1.5 million. We own a property in Bear Lake on the beach for $1 million. We have a couple commercial properties, and we got $4.5 million in property. And we talked about this a little bit. So we have about $4.5 million in property in town, and I needed to figure out I wanted to consolidate loans. Okay, my total loans are $626,000. And I wanted to figure out what to do, and so I started running numbers, and it actually gave me the plan to do it. And so then I had a banker who's a friend reach out, and they keep trying to steal me away from Citizens. And they said, hey, what are you looking for? And I told them, and I said, this is what I wanted, literally just the plan from what Vega gave to me. And sorry, Claude. Claude's name for that is Vega. All the financial stuff. And she said, well, I don't know. I got 5.99 3 weeks ago on a refi, which is awesome. Okay. Took my payments, just one of my properties. It's Soda Barn next to ISU, if you guys know that building. Pays me $4,200 a month. My entire payment to this is $3,700. It lowered all my payments. I save about $1,100 a month in interest. And it did that. And now I've got insane leverageability, which I hate because I don't want to use it. But now everything else is clear. There's nothing, there's nobody. I am in first position on everything other than this one property now. So now I've got leverage that if I wanted to do some of those hard money loans that I do and I wanted to pull equity out to be able to do that, I could do that really simply because it's really easy to refinance any of those now because there's nothing on them. It's an automatic yes, right? So that was the plan that came from it because I'm scared of leverage. I'm scared of debt. And it walked me through it and it showed me how that was. Now, I am known by my accountant as a massive tax planner. Last year, our net income was $245,000 and our taxable income was $93,000. We pulled $95,000 out of an inherited IRA that's automatically taxed, right? There's ways that you can manipulate that. And I run everything through coding to make sure that my ideas are correct. And then I also make sure to limit it that it doesn't look like it's even close to the line. And it runs everything before I do all my books. I submit my books with my plan and any of the tax codes that I think are pertinent to my accountant. He verifies them. They send it off. I pay $7,000 a year for my accountant to literally just sign a piece of paper. But yeah, it works great if you prompt it correctly. If you ever want to visit, I'll show you all that. So Claude Code's amazing.
So Claude Code's amazing, but I really just believe everybody needs to be an orchestrator. And so do you post that? You post it on your Claude account, but like why wouldn't you have a Claude bot and post it locally, then all your programming, your gem files, you actually teach your bot to be your person, and no matter what project you
It's there. So mine's on a Mac Mini, so I actually built that whole thing out. Yeah, I did the whole thing. So what's really funny, just so we were, if you want to do that, there are 3 Mac Minis at Costco as of Saturday. Anywhere. They're sold out everywhere.
You
Yeah.
can, like, if you can build a Raspberry Pi 5, they're not bad. The processing power is like not as much, but you can get like my Mac Mini's 15 years old.
Yeah.
You don't need a brand new one.
Here's what's really funny. So how many of you, when we're talking like this, are like, that's gibberish. That's okay. Guess what? No, I am not a tech dude. Like, go look at my Facebook. I have 8 posts. She did 6 of them. I don't know how. I just learned. The last one, we changed my photo and everybody blew up like, hey, you actually posted something. Like, it was a really funny thing. I don't know how to do this. So what do? You ask it what to do. It tells you. And then you keep asking it. And then here's what's great. Ask it to set up a Word document to give you all of the instructions so you can print it out on paper and then go and do the thing.
So actually what you can do is so much easier. You can ask it to write an MP file, it'll upload, it'll read itself. It does not read. No AI reads like Word and stuff like that. It's done like a picture has to be good. So if you download an MP file, you can save them and they'll read it. And they'll read it twice as fast on English.
Yeah. I'm scared of that because I want to make sure I understand what I'm doing because I want to see what it's doing. But yeah, it'll do the whole thing. What's really funny is I wanted to learn how to build a website because we have a home, we have a Bear Lake house, right? So we have lots of friends that reach out to me and ask to rent it. And I don't want them to have to rent it on Airbnb and VRBO, but that's where I'm going to make my good money. So what do? I built a website. I asked it to build me a website. It walked me how to throw it really fast, slapped it up there, the bearlakebearsden.com. Built it, cost me $57 for 4 years to host it. Did the whole thing. Pictures are up there. I've got, just from postings from friends, I think we've already got $12,000 in bookings this year just from friends. And those are like 2 and 3 night stays. Very simple. Very, very simple. This isn't rocket science.
I just think it's important that people don't get scared of the fact that you can ask it, you can say build a dashboard. You can then, I constantly make these screenshots. I don't like this, I want this changed. You don't actually need to cut over to do any of that. It's not, that's false. That was a false statement.
Yeah, all the,
Very much do this. You could set it up on like, I knew absolutely almost nothing, period. Didn't want a computer till I was 21. Was like, had a brilliant mentor who's worldly now. Thank God I had a good mentor. But you can very easily do this. And I suggest building your own stuff because if you're constantly using things like ChatGPT and Grok and that, you're going to have to constantly train it. And why on earth would you want to do that? Also, why would you want your stuff out on the cloud or any of that? You want your stuff local. I cannot stress that enough in security and that. So if you're constantly using ChatGPT, Claude is good. Claude will help. Claude is the best one to use to set up any local system for you. But do not do it on your main computers.
That's buy it put it on a separate computer, keep all your personal data. My bank accounts, nothing's attached to it. Security wise. It's easy. It's easy, guys. If you have questions on it, happy to walk you through it. Sorry for taking the extra time. That's my email. If you guys want anything, reach out to me. I'm happy to give you the stuff. The deck, there's actually a ton of this specifically to kind of the decisions that you can make to help you figure out the mentoring piece and the leading piece individually for you to push that. Sorry, I'm way over.
No, you're great.